Hey everybody, I'm actually getting prepared right now. Should take me, well, we won't start for another 5 minutes. So just give you a heads up and talk to you a little bit. Okay, I know we got one more minute before to start, but I wanted to started. First, I just want to do a mic check, make sure I'm not blowing eardrums out. I noticed that the output is relatively high, so what do you guys think? Chat. Perfect. It's not blowing out any eardrums. I hope not. Yeah, I had a feeling there would be humming noise. That's what I was trying to figure out. That's why I shut off the audio input because I was like, I don't want to like pollute everyone's speakers with the humming noise, and they're like, oh, what's going on? Also, this is really my first time ever doing like an official live stream, so bear with me. I'm still kind of getting my bearings with the streaming software that I have. So, any suggestions? I am all ears. Let's see. Normally, my mic works on my headphones. I'm not sure why it's not picking that up. Because I found that really unusual when I was looking at the audio input. And I was like, normally I have my venue headset. It will come up as a microphone, but this time it doesn't. So I'm gonna roll with what I got right now. It doesn't seem like there's too many people that are screaming. Lower the volume. My ears are bleeding. So, all right. Bring up my agenda because I like to come prepared. Okay. All right. So, thank you for coming in. You have joined the Free Cookham Columbus live stream, our very first live stream, brought to you by the folks that help keep Free Cookham Columbus going. My name is Daniel Stockamp. I'm one of the administrators of the group. We also have several other administrators, including Kevin and Sarah Berlin. They're a married team that help out with the website as well as the events. We also have Amy Bettinghouse. I hope I pronounced that right. She's a wonderful person who helps out with the newbies and also with the events. She helps coordinate the events. We also have a couple other coordinators or facilitators that used to be admins, but for logistical reasons, they're not able to attend as much. We have Kent Utterback. Kent used to live in Columbus, but he helps out with the website tremendously. In fact, shout out to Kent for helping set up the chat server. So, yeah, thank you, Kent, and also helping us with the infrastructure, because we do have a small infrastructure that helps manage our online presence as well as the chat server. We also have Justin Woodward. He helps out as well. He's a phenomenal help for the newbies in the chat room on Slack. As you notice, we actually have two chat servers. The Rocket Chat is our new one. The Rocket Chat has a lot of nice features to it. For instance, you can embed live streams on your chat server, which is great. You can also live stream from the server, which is even better. You also have video chat associated with it. All the cool stuff on Slack, except it's free. The only cost you have is actually maintaining the server. So, if you're looking for a new chat service, you don't want to fork over a lot of money for Slack, or you just generally don't like Slack because it's big corp stuff. Rocket Chat so far has helped us out tremendously. So I promise I'm not putting a plug in. It's just a really cool product. sorry, I got a little sidetracked. So Free Code Camp Columbus is actually a study group for Free Code Camp. So basically, a long time ago, about 5 years ago, when Free Code Camp was starting to kind of grow, a lot of folks decided in Columbus, like, hey, we should start a group centered around Free Code Camp for newer developers. And basically, let's get together and we can basically get in a study group and we can work on problems together. Well, first we started out as, we met at coffee shops. We have coffee and code. Then we did the library circuit, so we basically held our meetings basically in different libraries throughout Columbus. When we finally started growing, getting bigger, we started catching the attention of a lot of companies in town, and we actually, it was our goal to get to sponsors so we could host our events at their venues, and then that way it has a lot of tremendous benefits to it. One, a very nice space with equipment so people can prepare, and also Wi-Fi. But the most important thing is we wanted to, because the aim is to help folks learn how to program and learn how to develop, we get them closer to the employer, so that way there's a relationship established, which is really cool. So we have two sponsors, Insight used to be Cardinal Solutions, now it's called Insight, and then we also have Improving Enterprises, and they are located, Improving is located in Easton, and then Insight is located in downtown Columbus, and they've been a tremendous help. Just a shout out to them for sponsoring their space and just generally being kind to the community. Because believe me, the time we get to use their space, it just has a tremendous value for newer developers. So we are mostly focused on pair programming. We like to get members together and work on problems together. Sometimes it is Free Code Camp challenges and projects. Sometimes it's just projects that members are doing on their own, and it doesn't necessarily have to revolve around I think it's called the MERN stack. The stacks change all the time, as you know, technology. So for folks that just came in, I know there's a couple of folks came in. This is our Free Code Camp Columbus live stream. My name is Dan Stockham. I'm one of the admins for the group. And today, with just the live stream, we're going to just talk about the announcements from Free Code Camp in Quincy. Some really cool announcements. I highly recommend checking out. Just who we are, because I know a lot of folks that join the live stream that this is the first time they ever experienced Free Code Camp Columbus, and then also just get your guys' thoughts on the current situation with the coronavirus and the stay-at-home order, and how are you coping, and how is your learning journey with the current situation. So without further ado, let me go ahead and move on with the agenda. So let's see. Okay, so I'd like to talk about the announcements from Free Code Camp in Quincy. So, as you know, Quincy Larson is if we called him the founder, he'd probably say, no. I had the idea, and we came as a community to build Free Code Camp. Quincy Larson actually came up with the idea of Free Code Camp a long time ago. It was back in 2014. He realized how hard it was to learn how to do web development by himself, and he didn't want anybody else to go through the same. He didn't have to go through the effort of locating the right people and finding the right events. He wanted to create a support system, but also a phenomenal, valuable online curriculum at an affordable cost, which is free. So he ended up building Free Code Camp, and he had folks that wanted to basically saw what he was doing. And it's like, man, that's a great idea. He created it as an open source project. And hey, Francine, thank you for joining the live stream. We appreciate it. You have definitely made it to the Free Code Camp Columbus live stream. Yeah. So, anyways, that turned into an online community, and it eventually went from okay. There were a couple of challenges that were really good, but most of it you had to go. They basically had links to different MOOCs or massively online open curriculum. Basically, it's an educational platform that is massively available to folks like Code Academy, Free Scrimba, Team Treehouse. And eventually, the Free Code Camp built out a lot of those curriculums and was able to put out 2,080 hours plus of coding hours. So that basically means that if you work from start to end on Free Code Camp, which a whole lot of people finish through, but that's just to describe how massive it is. It would take you almost working full time if you're at a job, 40 hours a week for a full year to complete it, which is phenomenal. And it grown as I'm going to describe with the recent announcement. It's grown to even more coding material. It's amazing. It's amazing how big they gotten with while still staying free. It's pretty great. So recently, they announced that they brought back the chat server. So used to, Free Code Camp was on Slack a long time ago, and then they moved over to Gitter. And Gitter is basically a chat room service where you could go in and get real time, like you could get help in real time. And it was actually really cool. There's a lot of really talented individuals that were providing a great service to our newer devs. But there were some issues with it. One, the chat servers basically were in real time, which was great. But the problem was, if you had something like the equivalent to PewDiePie with his live streams, and then they had the chat boxes, as you know, if you put a message in there, it was a lot like the Bitcoin blockchain, where it would get literally buried in milliseconds because the amount of interaction between the amount of interaction with the chat room and the messages. So they eventually abandoned that idea and moved away from Gitter and created the forum. So that way, the forum was still real time, but it was much like your message board, where you can post a message, and it's not to the point where no one you can put. It's not to the point where you can put a message down, and then no one's going to see it because it gets completely buried. There's still a way of keeping track of the posts. So that worked out great, but given the current COVID-19 situation with coronavirus, with the social distancing, the folks that the contributors of Free Code Camp realized, like, okay, it's going to be really hard to go out to the Free Code Camp city groups around the world when everyone's stuck in lockdown. So let's go ahead and start up a Discord channel and bring back the chat, which it really works and it's great. And I'm going to post a link to it. We do have our own chat with Free Code Camp Columbus, excuse me. Sorry about that, which is through our Slack channel and through here. You can get help. However, the Discord chat room is a little bit bigger with the user base, and it's pretty good. I have asked questions on there, and I've gotten help. I do help on there. I do provide help on the Discord channel. So let me post that link here. And it's basically an invite link, and all you have to do is just fill out the registration, and you'll have a user on the Discord channel. So there you go. And then I'll also put on the Slack channel because I know some folks are not on this. Cool. Okay. All right. So yeah, definitely check it out. A lot of good resources, and a lot of you can get a lot of valuable help from it. So yeah. Moving on, the next announcement for Free Code Camp is, I just had it. Sorry, folks. I swear I know what I'm doing. Let's see. Here we go. Empty notepad. Okay. Oh, so recently, Free Code Camp hosted a conference called Lockdown Conf, and Lockdown Conf was basically just like a situational conference where coding conference, and you could basically this is the topics that they had: how to learn new skills while social distancing, how to work from home productively and stay sane because a lot of folks are working from home. Fortunate folks, we still have a lot of folks that are out of work, and I hope that things start getting better and they can finally get back to work because there's a lot of service industry, manufacturing folks are out of work, and I'm in the state of Ohio. I did hear that there's some news of the manufacturing plant starting to open back up after May 1st, which is exciting. Well, it's good. The folks are getting back to work, especially how crazy things are getting right now. They also talk about how to find companies who are still hiring and apply for developer jobs, which is right now, given this day and age, it's really important to really sell yourself. And I highly suggest checking that out because I did see some. They do have a curriculum on how to make yourself more attractive to employers. And as of right now, it's important to really stand out, and that's even for the newer devs. And then getting an edge, even if it is as simple as figuring out how to configure your LinkedIn profile so it makes it you can create a hook for recruiters to check out and make you look very valuable to employers. I think it's phenomenal. And then finally, how to land freelance work during that pandemic. So they actually recently just had this conference. However, if you go to the Free Code Camp, the main Free Code Camp YouTube channel, they recorded the entire thing. So you can still check out the recording and see all the talks that they have. I will post another link for that. Let's see. Here we go. I'm posting the link. You guys, let me know if the audio quality starts going down, so that way I can check on it and clean it up. So it looks like the humming noise. Well, no, it's my what do you call that on the audio bars? Like how you have the audio. I can't think of it right now. Mine's going 100 miles per hour because I want to provide the best live stream I possibly can. But I did post a link in Rocket Chat and I'll also post it in Slack. So yeah, they basically they just recently had a conference, and there's audio recording for that. The next item on the agenda. Got too many icons. They recently posted not a Medium blog article, but on their blog, the AWS Developer Associate Certificate course. So this is a 16-hour free course that you can take that's being offered by Free Code Camp to help better prepare you for the AWS Developer Associate certification. I think this is great, and if you're a newer dev and you're looking to basically make yourself stand out, is a lot of companies in Columbus are starting to move over to the cloud, much like all companies in the U.S. Just because of the convenience of the cloud and the affordability of it. Even at my job, we're definitely moving away from a hosted platform over to a cloud platform. I would suggest checking this out and then comparing that with your current learning journey with Free Code Camp, just because the potential value that will come of it. And if you slap that on your resume or put that on your LinkedIn profile, you're definitely getting some recruiters who are going to be all over you. Well, depending on if you like that or not, because depending on if personally, I get messages from recruiters all the time, and well, I gotta say, it's not very often that you get quality recruiters. But it doesn't matter. It's a numbers game at the end of the day. It is challenging. According to the article, and I will post the article, it is one of the most challenging certification courses offered by AWS. So it will work you over, but it's totally worth it in the end. And I'll also post it in Slack. So I got a lot of links on the post. Go ahead. Cool. All right, I got it posted. So okay. Man, I'm really blowing through this agenda. I didn't think I would get this far. So, oh, is it? It is going in and out. I had a feeling it would. I think I know why. Is it clipping? Ah. Let's try this. Input capture. Just really choppy. Gotcha. Shoot. That's really weird that it's doing that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is getting choppy. Hey, Tasha. Thanks for joining. Yeah, I do notice that the audio is definitely. Oh, wow. Yeah, it is definitely clipping big time. Oh, okay. So if I noticed if I took my laptop off the desk, oh man, what do you call that? The audio bar. Oh wow, yeah, it is choppy. Yeah, it doesn't help that my desk is right in front of the window on the street, and all the cars that pass by, and probably a lot of the vibrations from the city is polluting my mic right now. So let's see. Yes, I am, and I don't know why it's not picking up the mic. It's really confusing. I'm thinking if I try to reconnect my Bluetooth on my headset, maybe that will work. I don't know. I'm just pulling straws here. So I really hate to pause and try to get this figured out right into the live streams. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to see if I can reconnect to my Bluetooth to bring my mic up. So, 1 second. I'm going to shut my audio off real quick. Okay, so definitely check my devices, my computer, and even Windows 10 can't pick up the Windows 10 cannot pick up the microphone off my headset. So, man, but here's what I did. Yeah, I switched over to my um, webcam and used the mic off that, which is awesome. And it's I didn't think it would be all that great, but it's a lot better than a laptop mic. So, hallelujah. All right. I saved the day with duct tape and hairpins. So, but I'll definitely try to figure out what's going on. So, I know we're sidebarring, but these are actually Skull Candy venue headsets. Looked really cool when I first bought them, but had a lot of problems with them. And one of the microphone being one of them. Typically, if I use my phone, oh, that could be it. It's possible that the microphone is not working because I have too many Bluetooth connections, which I do have a lot of devices. So, but no matter, the mic works. Yeah, yeah, that's probably what was happening. All right, well, let's get back on schedule. I'm going to bring up the agenda. So we were just talking about the Free Code Camp offering a course on AWS, the Associate Developer Certification or Developer Associate Certification. Essentially, it's a 16-hour course, free, because Free Code Camp, the key word is free. So it's awesome. Um, I'm not too familiar with cloud services. Uh, the most I ever worked with cloud was when I was working with my personal site and also our Free Code Camp Columbus site. That is hosted by Netlify, and they do offer Lambda functions. So that is the most amount of experience I ever have. However, so just to give a little background for me, I started my coding career actually started after I graduated from Tech Elevator. My first job after graduating from that boot camp was with electric company, uh, AEP, and I was an application support. I was in application support, so I was basically tier three, and a lot of the projects that they did was focused on around the cloud. Now, here's the thing about cloud. Um, Essentially, the roles that are starting to crop up in Columbus are called cloud specialists, and cloud specialists basically are product specialists. So you get a company like Microsoft or Oracle, they have a cloud product, and they will hire contractors around that cloud product because it's so new and so niche. I guess speech impediment. Sorry. Um, there the salary potential with it is astronomical. It's crazy. Like I don't know why anyone would pay six figures for we're basically working out of a what you see, what you get editor. But obviously, there's more to it than just an editor. There's a lot of configuration. Design is really architectural design on those products are really important because it needs to match the company or the company's needs. But that's why I'm kind of harping on getting this because cloud is a thing in Columbus, and it definitely is worth checking out. Uh, but I will not beat that dead horse too much. Okay, let's see. I already posted a link to it. And also, Free Code Camp has expanded a lot. They recently made a post about how, how I was talking. I know some of you just joined in, but I was talking about, why Free Code Camp is just it's a godsend to anybody that wants to learn how to code but just don't have the financial resources because you get a lot of value for so little value that you have to exchange. I mean, when I started,
they had 2,080 plus hours of coding time, and that was a lot of material. Now they have 3,000 plus hours of coding time. There's 110 projects that you can do now, because used to they had challenges that you would do, and it was a lot more of a step-by-step walkthrough tutorial. Now you basically have a project, and they teach you how to code by essentially adding on to that project, which I think that's a great idea. That's how I learned. I basically, nothing started to solidify until I started working on my own projects. And on top of all that, they have a lot of electives now. Basically, now they have a lot of like, hey, these are the typical homework assignments or homework projects that it you'll get on a technical interview, that like a take-home project, or this is the computer science concepts you need to understand. So it's crazy. It's amazing how much material that they have. But let me show you the article just to give you a perspective how much they've grown. Let me grab that. Let's see. So developer news free code camp, because they now have their own news site, which is really cool. Shoot. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I would like to add they have now included Python. They're going to include Python in its curriculum, which is that's ooh boy, that was a long that was a man. I'm getting idioms all mixed up. That was a long time coming, because how popular Python is now. In fact, if you look at the most popular languages that people are learning, it's Python. They teach it at a university level. They use Python with IoT or Internet of Things. It makes a lot of sense that they would start teaching Python at Free Code Camp. I am looking for the article. I thought I had the article, but I actually just had this one. I had this one article that was kind of like a sub topic. It was basically learn JavaScript by building 7 games, which I think is kind of cool. And that's the best way to learn JavaScript, is by making games, because making a game is fun compared to making a calculator. Making a calculator is not all that exciting. I mean, it's exciting when you build it, but the end product isn't all that exciting. It just really is just a toy project. But making a game as well, it's a toy project, but at least you can have fun playing it after you're done coding it, right? You can bake your cake and eat it too. So let me post that. And you guys can check that out while I find the announcements. Let me type in Free Code Camp expanded. There we go. That's the keyword I'm looking for. Man, I'll tell you what. Being a developer, the most important skill to have is Google skills. Knowing how to find something as quickly and as efficiently as you possibly can on Google, or DuckDuckGo if you're all about privacy. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Nope, that's definitely not it. Here we go. Cool. Let me find that section. Expanded curriculum. There we go. That's what I wanted. Alright, I'm going to share this on my screen. Oh, no problem, Jonathan. I know I'm kind of over providing information, but there's just so much good stuff out there, and anything you share is just like very valuable Very valuable. I can't imagine 30 years ago trying to learn how to program. Actually, when I first started programming, I actually started in high school. I went to a technical school called Eastland Career Center, and they had a course called Information Systems, and I actually started out there. And we started out doing Visual Basic, and the only resource that we really had, because the internet wasn't all that useful at the time. You know, the only good thing about the internet was newgrounds.com and listen to free illegal music. it's, it's like there wasn't really any useful advice. All we had was this Visual Basic book, and it looked like the Bible, and it was really dry. And most of the time, when you're in high school, they had to keep things really simple for us. So we were just doing a walkthrough on a project out of a book. In Java, oh my God, Java. This is how bad it was. If you were working on an assignment, you were not allowed to use an IDE. You had to use Notepad. I won't divulge in too much because I want to leave it to imagination. But yeah, it was bad. That's one of the reasons why I kind of left programming for a while because I didn't like I was like, man, this sucks. Like I'm always on a wild goose chase, and at the time I was not really fond. I wasn't really fond of my classmates. I didn't particularly like hanging out with them. I wanted to hang out with my friends because a lot of my friends were still at my home school, so it was like it's like if I'm gonna get a career, do I want to be around these guys or do I want to be around my friends, which I've enjoyed their time more, and I eventually ended up. Long story short, I basically had two career changes in my lifetime. My first career change was when I left high school and realized like thought I liked technology, but I didn't, and I did a complete 180, and I took a major that was completely unrelated to technology. Finally got out of college and realized, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Who told me to get a degree? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. If you're in college right now and you're pursuing a degree, stick with it. Trust me on this. It will save your butt in an interview. So keep going. So, okay, I found the article. And they basically, now you can build 111 projects and you can enter 10 certifications. So they added a couple more certifications, and the certifications are basically centered around data science. So, I keep forgetting chat. Oh, sorry guys, I didn't look at the chat. Okay. All right. And I apologize. I am like my mom. I cannot pronounce anybody's names whatsoever. Trust me. Yeah, I am. Whew, I cannot remember anybody's names and I can't pronounce them. So, what would you learn if you wanted to start coding? That's actually a really good question because what I've learned is programming languages are a lot like actual languages. A language is just a tool, and the tool is a vessel for ideas and expression. So what I mean by that is a language in itself doesn't really is superior to any other languages except like I don't know, like caveman language, because obviously caveman languages didn't have a very big vocabulary. But like in this day and age, if you're, it doesn't matter if you're French or if you're English or if you're Spanish or if you're Chinese or if you're Japanese. That vessel, it doesn't really matter in learning about the universe itself or learning about the world around you. So really, any language is good. It doesn't matter what language it is because the concepts and the fundamental concepts and the design patterns that you learn can carry over to any language. But here's the thing: Free Code Camp is free. Free Code Camp has a lot of coding material, and Free Code Camp teaches is JavaScript. So if I had to choose, if I had to suggest a language, I would choose JavaScript just because there are a lot of resources on it, a lot of documentation. You have a very good educational platform that has a lot of material, and it has an a very robust online community that you can learn from. And surprisingly, with it being so free, I'm really surprised that the community is so generous and nice because most free communities I know are pretty toxic. 4chan, 4chan, sorry, Reddit. So I'm very adamant, or I think I'm strongly advise you to learn JavaScript and learn through Free Code Camp. And when you keep learning it and you learn like fundamental programming concepts, what you'll realize is once you got a good grasp on JavaScript and you need to learn another language like C Sharp or Java, you're actually going to understand. You're going to like, oh, dude, I totally saw this in JavaScript. I don't like, oh, I don't understand the syntax yet, but I know how to program this. I just got to learn the syntax. So yeah, that's my suggestion. Sorry, that was a bit long-winded. I tend to talk a lot, so if I talk too much, just stop me. It's just in capital letters. Stop. Um, okay, back to the article. So let me show you the. Okay, so we're adding 4 new data-focused certifications. In addition to 6 certifications we had since 2017. So there were 6 certifications before this. They're adding 4 new certifications, all using Python. So this is where the Python part comes in the curriculum. And it's a lot, as you can see, a lot of it is data science. So data analysis, scientific computing, a lot to deal with statistics. And then I'm sure I have probably insulted a data scientist. Like it's not all about statistics. I get it, but you're dealing with graphs. You're dealing with understanding data, interpreting data. Also, Python's really big in information security. I actually used to work in information security. I worked with a lot of infosec guys and gals, and surprisingly, in information security, it's well, in my experience, the gender ratios are actually pretty even. Well, it was a public company, so there were some stipulations around that, but we did have a good portion of women that worked in information security, which is a good thing. We got both sides of perspectives, but I digress. They use Python a lot in their scripting of our. So the guys I worked with were called Security Operations Center analysts, and what they do is they basically monitor the both the internal and external networks, and they basically sniff packets as they come through the network, and they check IPs and look for suspicious activity, hacker stuff. But they use Python to basically automate a lot of the manual tasks that they typically have to do, so it can focus on the more important stuff like, stopping a DDoS attack, or sitting down and describing, okay, how can we architect this so we can prevent any data leaks or mitigate data leaks, stuff like that. So yeah, Python is used heavily in information security or cybersecurity, and it's definitely worth checking out. Uh, so this is just a description of different libraries that we use. Okay, so can you guys hear me? If you can hear me, type 1. Okay. Cool. Awesome. Cool. Sorry about that. Yeah. Okay, Katie. Calm down now. Gotta be the black sheep. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I do use Spectrum, and I don't think it was the internet. I think what happened was I actually had this happen before. When Kent and I were live streaming, I had an encoding error with OBS, and that completely crashed the entire stream. In fact, I don't know how my computer was like near death, and then it was just someone shot it with epinephrine and just came back to life. But it's like, oh yeah, I came back to life, but your live stream's dead, so you're gonna have to figure out how to get it back up. It's like, oh, okay. But it's back up. That's just a good thing. I'll have to look into it. Remember, I'm new to this. It's like the second time I ever live stream in my entire life. And there's a lot of stuff I don't know. So, yeah. So back to the curriculum. So just a recap. They're going to be adding Python. There's going to be 4 new certifications. They're all going to be data science centered, except for information security, which is also important. I also mentioned that they're basically going to be switching over to project basis so instead of individual lessons. So that means that you'll have a project and you'll build out that project, which is cool because I think that's the best way to learn. Um, this is kind of cool too. They basically teach you how to use Git, which they were already teaching you how to use Git, but they weren't teaching you. They were kind of teaching you like the kindergarten way, and not the way that you would typically would use it at work, because there is a big difference. In fact, Kent did a really good job on a talk on Git, and it was really good. And it basically got you at the level where you could finally start working in a dev shop with version control, which is great. They will be teaching about Linux. Let's see, we made a curriculum run completely client side. You could just jam through free code camp in your browser and write a 0 millisecond feedback loop. That's not what we want. I want to learn about Linux. Where's Linux at? They don't have too much specifics on it, so I'm not sure what they'll do with Linux. They'll probably talk like fundamental command line commands that you can use, all that good stuff. So, what else? Here's the full version. Okay, cool. So we got a map. So we have our HTML, CSS certification projects. They don't look any different. JavaScript algorithm data structures. Certification projects, yep, don't look any different. Front end libraries, Pomodoro clock, all the really cool toy projects you can do. Okay, data visualization. I mean, this is the stuff. This is the good stuff. So I like this here. So CSV, JSON, AJAX. Yeah, actually, no, this isn't the new stuff. This is all, well, they moved over to the project-based learning. Okay. APIs and microservices, which is cool. Quality assurance, this is where the big end projects are. This is the ones that basically make your head explode. I'm kidding. But they're hard. They're very hard if you're new. So, and by the way, guys, if you ever are doing projects like these, don't think that you need to do these by yourselves to seem legitimate, and that working with somebody else is cheating. That is not cheating, because when you do get in the working world, you're basically working with others, and you're going to basically work on a team within a team, and you're going to be working on one project. So don't feel as though that if you don't build this project on your own, you're going to be cheating, and employers are just like, oh, you didn't build this on your own, we're not going to hire you. You're a cheater. No. If they do that, you tell me so I can chew them out. No, they actually would rather have you work on a team and with someone else, because that's a skill in itself to work with somebody else because it does require patience because sometimes people don't see your perspective or you don't see their perspective, and it's a good way to practice communication skills. Cool. Let me jump back to chat. All right. Let me move this over here so that way. Okay, you guys can still see me. Cool. All right. It wouldn't matter anyways because all you guys see is my face, which is good. It's not a beautiful face, but it's a face. Um, okay, here's the new stuff. The Python. Scientific computing, practice projects, learn Python basics, building blackjack game. Oh, that sounds exciting. Building a contact book program. Okay. I mean, typical credit. Oh, yeah. That'd be really fun. Learn object-oriented programming, building a Minesweeper game. It'd be kind of like Game of Life, but uh, it'll be retro. Well, actually, they're both retro. Tower. I never can pronounce this right. Henui. I know people are probably laughing or they're just falling out of the chair. I was like, man, no, completely wrong. So this is basically a recursion exercise. And then a concurrency, building a prime number generator. Okay, cool. Alright, this is cool. And then data analysis. We got learn basic NumPy by creating manipulating arrays. Oh, wow, you guys are not able to see that. I'm sorry. Here, let me move this over then. Act. Huh. There we go. There. Now you guys can see it. Sorry about that. So let's close that out. Oh, nope. Jeez, Dan, you got one job. You had one job. There we go. All right, I want to get back to chat so I can keep track of you guys. So you don't feel as though I'm ignoring you. Okay, there we go. And you guys could probably see the. Yep, you can see that. So. Man, keeping track of this stuff is hard. Data analysis, and just to go back, this is the new course, Python courses they're going to be putting up. Yeah, if you guys got questions, don't hesitate to post it in the Rocket chat, because I love answering questions. I want to help as much as I possibly can. I know this probably is not interesting for some folks, just because maybe you're currently working on a project and you're kind of trying to get some ideas, or you're more interested as to questions about the development industry. So yeah, just if you got a question, just post it in the Rocket chat and I'll do my best to answer it. Well, Joey, that's okay. I mean, you could throw as much shade as you like on Spectrum. Because believe me, oh my God, the amount of, oh, oh my gosh. Spectrum is like, so I'm on a tangent now, but this is my experience with Spectrum. So before I moved, I currently live in Columbus. I live in downtown Columbus. I used to live in Circleville, and as you know about Circleville, is out in the country, and anything that involves around cable internet, like when people had DSL back in like early millennia, before the turn of millennia, like in the city, we had like nothing. We didn't have dial-up. We got excited when dial-up came around. So when Spectrum finally did come around a couple of years back, oh, this is great. And they said they sent out marketing that they have availability where we live, And I was like, oh, this is great. So we call up Spectrum. They actually had a sales guy come out and it says, hey, you should buy Spectrum. They're like, okay. But then, of course, they're trying to sell us on the cable television. It's like, no, we don't care about cable television. No one watches cable. We want the internet. And it's like, oh, okay, well, we got that. We totally got that. All right. So, we paid the initial fee for the contractor to come out and then put the tap in. And it's like, okay, we put the tap in. Now we got to hook it up to your house. We're going to send another contractor to do that. Okay. So the next day, they sent a contractor out. And they just sit out in their truck and they're on their phone. And there was like a lot of commotion. And they said they come out and they says, "Oh, we're sorry, you don't really have an availability out here. We don't have uh, we don't have the hub is too far away for us to hook it up." And it's like, you just told us you have availability. It's like, well, no, we don't. You're too far away from the hub. And it's like, here, look, and it would show us like the availability map. And it's like, why the hell? Sorry, I cussed. Why the heck did you send out the marketing for availability? And you don't even, you're telling us you can't even hook us up. Oh man, we were mad, really mad. And any sort of like, I was so bad with Spectrum. I like they would try to call us, and I was like, I don't want to talk to you. And I call customer service, and it could be something simple, and I know this is wrong, but I was just giving a lot of crap. And I felt bad for those folks on the phone, but let me tell you, when you cross somebody like that, it's a little hard to be trusting again. So yeah, that's my story. Sorry, that was a tangent, but I just had to tell it. So, um, okay, Joey's got a good question. So if you're doing hiring in a company, what are some key things you like for in a project? Also, I had a similar problem recently when I lived in a rural area with Spectrum. I had to get hotspots from Verizon. It was awful. Oh, I know. And you probably did the satellite thing, right? Because what we did for the longest time, we couldn't get DSL, but Verizon offered these. It was kind of like hotspots, but it was like satellite, and it were like these like dongles. They're really big dongles, and they had antennas on them, and you basically would connect to the satellite internet. Actually, we had that for the longest time, and then I think we moved over to the hotspots. And you're right, it is awful. It was terrible. But we didn't have that for too long. I think eventually Frontier came out, and that was DSL, and we ended up getting that. So we weren't using the hotspots for too long. But yeah. But to answer your question, with like hiring, like what do companies typically look for in an interview or when they look at your portfolio? Um, you really want to build. So the reason why an employer is looking to hire you is because they are looking to fill a spot to fill value. They need value so they can essentially transfer that value over to the product that they're selling. So what that means is your portfolio is basically your sales pitch to the employer. And they are not going to buy a product because that's essentially what they're doing. They're not going to buy a product if it doesn't fit their needs. So, in turn, when you build your portfolio, if you can build projects that matches the problems that they're solving, or at least the problems that they're trying to solve internally and externally, that is definitely what you want to build. So that's really vague and it's a little ambiguous, but let me give an example. A typical problem that you have in a dev shop or like an enterprise is a hard time keeping track of bugs and software. So my short time of working, and believe me, it's short. Even though I've been in IT since 2015, and then I only have been a developer for a short period of time. The biggest problems that you run into is the documentation and keeping bugs and issues centralized. So what you want to do is a project idea I would suggest doing is doing an issue tracker, and here's why. In a dev shop, keeping track of bugs, a lot of bugs sometimes are about and they know it's there, but there's no way of holding accountability for it. So by building an issue tracker, you're essentially building something that will help the product owners organize the issues that are encountered in software, and it provide an overview, like a transparency overview throughout the entire organization on those bugs. So if you want to build a project, I would start with that because that does solve a business problem. Another good project to work on is essentially like an inventory tracking system. That's a nice business problem. I know that's still pretty vague, but think of it this way. Let's say you have a mom and pop shop, and they have to have a way to keep track of the inventory for both, for sales and taxes. So name some problems that would come out of it, right? So you might have the issue of, oh well, what happens if you don't get the inventory in there? Or let's say you have inventory that keeping it all tracked in one place. Uh, it, it, I would. This is just some ideas I'm throwing out, like inventory tracking system. Another big thing too is, and this is at one of my old employers. One of the big problems that we had is it was a retail company, and trying to keep track of promotions is like freaking impossible from a business side. So we developed a tool that basically organized the promos and put it in and essentially turn it into a streamlined process, so it's not such a manual process. So basically what they were doing is they had all these spreadsheets that kept track of all their promos, and it was hard to keep track of it because there were different spreadsheets involved in different departments. And as you know, you have all these different spreadsheets with different departments, with different store locations, and well, it gets confusing, and it slows down the productivity and the value chain when it comes to the business, from the internal side all the way to the consumer facing side. So we built a product that basically consolidated and streamlined the promotional process from the conception of the promo by the business all the way up into delivering the promo to customers. So to summarize and probably clarify, building projects that automate a process, that's an idea right there. So taking a manual process and automating it. Just to be a little bit more specific, doesn't necessarily have to be in my case. It could be something like, oh, I don't know. Um, so many ideas to choose from. Think of it this way. First, start out with something that you have a lot of issues with at home, or just some problems that you run into on a daily basis, or some manual process you do at work. I don't know what line of work you're in, Joey. It could be office work. Office work is easy because there's a lot of manual processes that could be automated. But like labor or stuff like that, like if you work in a warehouse, maybe they don't do the warehouse doesn't do a very good job of scanning SKUs. So you can use that opportunity to make that process more efficient through your programming skills. Um, and the problem is, I want to name a lot of stuff that I did in my work past, but I don't know how well that would translate into something you can do. Like for instance, I don't know how well you know Active Directory. Just a long story short, Active Directory is it's kind of like a user management tool by Microsoft. And one of the biggest issues I had, because I was an infosec, and I was like an entry level, and I wasn't really supposed to be doing programming stuff. It was more manual form entry. Guys, if I'm like going off on a tangent, let me know because I go off on a tangent really easy. Um, Basically, I had to. So every time we had a new associate come in, we had different systems ranging from lower level all the way to higher level third party products, and I had a checklist I had to go through to one, set them up in Active Directory, two, set them up with the proprietary systems that we had set up, and then three, any other third party systems that we had to set them up. So basically, provisioner. And I was just short of like the only stuff we didn't do was like physical security stuff like RFIDs. Well, the problem I ran into was I was the process of adding somebody in Active Directory and making sure they have the right entitlements was a pretty time consuming process. It was a massive, excuse my French, it was a massive pain in the ass. So I used my programming skills that I picked up, and I put together a script that basically automated that entire process. It was a series of macros and scripts that automated that entire process. So that way I could focus more on the proprietary systems, which are more important because if the worker doesn't have or the associate doesn't have access to proprietary systems, they can't work. Therefore, the company loses money. Well, I want my company to make more money, so that way my paychecks will be a little bit bigger at the end of the year. Not by much, but my concern was to keep the company rolling and not get associates with twiddling their thumbs. So that's why I basically developed a script that basically automated the entitlement, the provisioning, or the insertion of users, and then their provisioning of entitlements in groups. And funny story, I actually got in trouble for that. It was funny because uh, I remember I got called in by my boss. Well, it was my manager and then my supervisor, and they were sitting at the desk. It's like, Dan, did you put this together? It's like, yeah. I realized I was spending a whole lot of time, uh, basically inserting users into Active Directory since we used to have an automated solution. We got rid of it because it was crap. And I saw this, and I also noticed that I could run macros on soft tokens. And I figured, why not do it? Save us the time, and so we can focus on bigger fires. And it's like, my boss was like, it's great that you can do that, but here's the thing, we don't want you to do that. It's like I was like surprised, but it made sense because my role wasn't developer; it was access provisioner, and that's not my scope to build scripts. That's what that was what the analysts were for. I was a coordinator. So yeah, it got me in trouble, but that was something I like. I saw to go back on the what type of projects to put together. You want to build projects that solve business problems. Doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, this is solves a serious business problem. Because if it does, why would you want to get hired? Why don't you sell the idea and create your own company? But just your typical common business problems that you think a business would face, and then don't go overboard on it, but at least try to implement the solution and make it work, make it right. Don't worry about making it pretty because believe me, in enterprise, nothing's pretty uh, unless you're marketing. Um, yeah, just focus on that. And if you're like, damn, I know, but you gotta give me some ideas. Well, like I said, building an issue tracker app. There's a really good, and I think this is phenomenal because there's a lot of good ideas. If you go to Dev2, Dev2 actually has, I thought this was a great article, 100 plus app ideas. And a lot of them do solve business problems. I'm getting that for you right now. Shoot. Well, I thought I had it. Hold on. I'm finding it right now. Is it getting a little too dark for you guys? I noticed that, the sun's going down and I don't have my lights on, so 100 plus. Here we go. 100 plus uh, ideas. Cool. All right. Let me copy this and then move it over. There we go. Yeah, this article is really good because you got some easy ones that look like more like toy projects, like a loading screen, HTML calculator, you know, oh, create a simple RESTful web app. Yeah, really ambiguous. Search bot. Yeah, that I guess that could be useful. A job scraping web app. Yeah, it's not necessarily a business problem. It's more like a like I need a job problem. Twitter data could solve a business problem. You could potentially, business might need to find, keywords. They're not as competitive in social platforms. But the stuff you really want to work on is like building a Twitter bot. I know a lot of companies that have their online presence on social platforms, and you could build a Twitter bot where they can delegate off the uh, uh, social media management over to a bot, right? And putting posts up. There's a couple good ones on here too. On the medium one, let's see. Oh, appointment scheduler. That solves a business problem. I know a lot of personal trainers and independent hairdressers that would definitely love to have something like that because not all schedulers are built the same, right? Uh, and of course, you got hard, which this is more like fulfilling curiosities and potentially making yourself more productive as a developer. But yeah, let me post this up to give you some ideas. And hopefully that answers your question. Ah, gee, thanks. Haven't noticed much of a lighting change. Looks fine on land. Okay, cool. But I did go ahead and post it up here. Um, okay. Hopefully I answered your question. I know I was a little long-winded with it. Yep. Okay. So moving on the agenda, I know I'm actually almost done. Uh, I thought I was going to get through it quick, but actually it's good you guys are asking questions. That's really good because that means you're staying engaged, and a lot of you are getting a lot of value of this. So that's the most. If one person can walk away getting something really valuable out of this, I have I've fulfilled my mission. So yeah. So anyways, moving on. So just to give you a history on Meetup.com. So a lot of you have come from Meetup.com, and we've been very fortunate to Tech Life to allow us to use their platform to basically promote our events. Recently, Meetup.com got bought out by a bigger organization called WeWork, and because they got bought out by WeWork, they changed the pricing model up. So the pricing model is set up in such a way that if you to get a meetup group, I think it's like $20 a month to host a meetup group, and then no, if you set up an event, it's like $20, and then for each participant of that event, it's $2 per participant. Which you think, oh, that's not a whole lot of money, but you have like if you're a big meetup group, and you're a big meetup group and you have like some 200 participants, that's like what, 200 participants, $2 each, $400 you have to pay for that event just to use the online service. That gets expensive. And if you're a group like us, or if you're like a nonprofit group, that's out of the budget. There's no way you can afford that. And I get what WeWork is trying to do, like what Meetup.com is trying to do. They're trying to catch up on their margins, but and they can rely on like fitness personalities and a lot of these bigger groups like paid meetup groups. But we're Free Code Camp Columbus. We're our our motto is we want to keep everything as free as possible, just like Free Code Camp. So Quincy Larson actually saw this, and I was like, all right, this is going to kill a lot of groups. So him, and his merry band of open source contributors came up with the idea of creating a open source event organization platform called Chapter. So this has started up several months back. I think it was 6 months back. No. They started this up back in, I believe it was back in October. So it's roughly about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. And then they started up the open source project, and they gotten pretty far with it. Uh, and basically, what it is, it's going to be like a hosted event. You can host your own event organization app, and then all you have to do is just deploy it, put your brand on it, and boom, you got your own event organ. Event organization site, and you can set up events. You can basically set up events. You can use social media sharing, so you can share it on your social media accounts. You can have a mail blast feature, so you can create a mailing list for your organization, and every time you host an event, it will send like an email. The vision of this is basically be a free meetup.com that you can host on your own server, which is really cool. And if you guys and gals are looking for ways to expand your resume, there's no better way to expand your resume is to contribute to an open source project. And here's why. Open source projects open source projects are basically dependent on like version control sites like GitHub.com or Bitbucket or GitLab, and they have good open source projects have a very good guide, like a excuse me, throat's getting dry. Have a very good guide as to contributing to the project. So by contributing to a project, you can demonstrate that you've built you made a piece of code that is being used by real customers, if that makes sense. And you went through the entire version control process to get that code out there. You got it reviewed. You've written unit tests behind it, and you've experienced the workflow process. Employers like that. Developer managers really like that, because that means you understand how version control works. And it's really important to understand how version control works, because if you don't have version control, oh boy, you're not going to last very long as a software company. So if you're looking to expand your resume, I highly suggest checking out this open source repository and just take a look of all the issues that they have, and just work towards contributing to it. And you know what? You don't even have to write a single line of code. You can actually just contribute to the documentation, and that's still considered to be an open source contribution. And that's still very important for open source projects, because, I mean, let's face it, if you're no developer likes to write documentation being a paid developer. I don't think a lot of developers enjoy doing documentation if it is just for if it's open source. So if you can at least contribute, if you don't feel comfortable contributing code, at least you contribute documentation, and it's super easy to do. So I'll go ahead and post the link. And you can check that out on your own, and see if, I mean, it's a really cool project, and I think it's at a point now that it's not a greenfield anymore. They actually have some built up infrastructure, so it's not as difficult to contribute, because they already have an established workflow. So okay, All right. In addition to building projects that would help in a business setting, do you advise including a lot of unit testing in those projects? Um, yes, I would, because unit testing increases the quality of your code and thus it increases the quality of the product. So a lot of professional settings do require you to. I know it's. Oh, I thought that was a laughing emoji because here a lot of no, the thing I notice about devs is they harp on test driven development and they're very zealous about it. But when you actually get into an actual working environment, it's kind of fun. It's kind of funny with the irony of how we kind of tiptoe around testing. So I might have ruffled some feathers there, but I'm telling you, it, it's kind of it's kind of funny. I don't want to get too much of a tangent, but uh, basically, when I first when I have true uh, my true developer job, it was like I was like, all right, we can finally do. I finally got a developer role. You know what? I want to do it the right way. I want to write unit tests and all that. And I remember the senior dev I was working with, and it's like, oh, you write tests? And it's like, yeah, oh, that's amazing. We don't really write tests on our applications, but it's really cool you want to do that. I think with all the newer projects we're going to do, we're going to start writing tests. Really? Like, I was like, oh, you didn't write tests. But okay, I totally get it. You're trying to do the right thing. And then, like, as I worked, the more I worked, the more I realized, like, it was a lost cause. And it's because, like, a lot of the things I had to work on were legacy code, and that's great and everything. It's cool that you got good intentions of writing tests, but when you're already that far with your software and all, I'm sorry, you're already that far with your code base. It's very difficult to write tests around it because if you follow test-driven development, you write your tests first before you write your actual code. It's, and you run into that roadblock when you have legacy code because the code base is already there. So it's like, okay, well, I'm going to be violating that principle if I'm writing tests on already existing code because the test should always fail before your test should always fail your first time you run it, right? But again, going on a tangent, for your instance, yes, I would highly suggest writing unit testing. It doesn't necessarily have to be very elaborate. It could be as simple as, it's just a smoke test. Like, if I press this button, will this output do this thing? As simple as that. I wouldn't go completely overboard with it, but at least it don't have to have complete code coverage, but just at least show that you are doing unit testing and that you understand how unit testing works, when you should do it, and how like what type of test that you should run. That's what I suggest doing. So I hope that answers your question, Jonathan. I know I know I kind of went on a tangent there regarding like what unit testing in your personal projects. So all right, okay. Totally got the link out for chapter. I would definitely check that out. Um, I would definitely, yeah, definitely check that out. I already went over the expanded curriculum. I went over the details of that. That was actually a little bit further down the agenda, but we were going over that. Okay, all right. So I know this isn't really related to Free Code Camp, but this I think everyone should participate because the importance of cloud development. Netlify is going to be hosting a Jamstack virtual conference at the end of the month, around May 27th, 28th. It's actually a day before my birthday. Yay! Happy birthday to me. So basically, Jamstack is JavaScript. Oh man. So the acronym. So Jamstack stands is much like the acronyms like LampStack and MERNStack and MeanStack and all the different stacks. So the J stands for JavaScript. A stands for APIs. And then M stands for, oh boy, I might be wrong on this, Mongo. So let me double check that. Jamstack. So essentially, you're building front end applications, and then you're letting your back end, you're letting the cloud handle. And you're using APIs to handle your back end, APIs and Lambda functions to handle your back end, which is actually really cool. It's amazing how much you can accomplish with the Jamstack. But Netlify is going to be hosting Jamstack conference. It's going to be all virtual. The excuse me, it's free. Actually, I'm going to hold on, guys. Let me turn on the light here because it is getting dark and it's kind of looking creepy. I watched a bunch of creepy YouTube videos today, and I'm actually a little disturbed, so I might have some midnights. And I looked at my face and I got scared. There we go. Hopefully my face isn't too dark. Oh, perfect. Yes, so I hope you can see it. Hold on. Let me bring it up. So Jamstack, it's JavaScript, APIs, and then I believe M is... So Jamstack, let's see. I should know this because I am like totally being a evangelist right now for Jamstack. What is Jamstack? So I'm actually looking at the official site. So you may have already seen or worked on Jamstack site. They do not have will include all attributes of JavaScript APIs. Markup. There you go. Markup. So markup as in I want to say kind of like Markdown. Markdown is like that formatting specification. So like if you're on Jira or if you're on Medium or even on Slack, you can put special characters around your words and adds text decorations to it. Sort of stuff like that, where you can build tables out of pipes, like pipe characters and stuff like that. So, yeah, there you go. Yep. Markup. Markup is so. Markup is like Jekyll. If you ever use Jekyll, Jekyll is a static site generator. And what's cool about it is you can build a static site with relative ease. You can use markup to basically build out your elements instead of writing actual HTML. It's really cool. It's like it's like Emmet on steroids, basically. And you can use the markup to you can hook the markup to like a back end, and you can pull content down, and you can format the content and with relatively low code. So to give you an example, Jekyll uses Ruby for its static site generator. And let me see if this is a good link, because this might be a good definition. Here, let me give you a link. So the popular static site generator right now is actually not Jekyll, but it's one called Gatsby.js. And Gatsby.js is actually a React.js static site generator. Extremely popular. Highly suggest checking it out. But the whole thing about Jamstack is you don't have to be a back-end expert to build a professional, like a legit website, I'm sorry, not a website, a legit web application. So what that means is you know how you're like, oh man, I really want to build this site, but I gotta build the front end, and then after I finish the front end, I gotta build an API, or I gotta build a monolithic server like ASP.NET, and I gotta configure that server, and I gotta have a database behind it. Well, Jamstack, you don't have to worry about that. Jamstack says, look, you're gonna have a JavaScript front end and you're going to use a series of APIs. It could be a headless content management system like Contentful. Think of, if you don't know what headless CMS is, think of WordPress without all the UI dashboards. It's just APIs that you interact with. Um, and you basically, it's like you build the front end, and then we have you can find the APIs you can interact with, and we handle the back end using the cloud lambdas. You don't have to configure any servers. You don't have to manage infrastructure. You could just simply deploy your site and it will just work. Well, of course, you'll obviously have to make sure that your API endpoints work, but it will just work. You don't have to worry about the configuration and all that. So that's why I think it's great, because if you're a newer developer and you want to make a big, big, big splash with the employers, you really want to you want to leverage the Jamstack. You want to leverage a lot of these platforms like Netlify to build your web applications. So I'm kind of explaining a lot about Jamstack, but the Jamstack conference, it's free. You can register now. They have some past recordings of talks to give you a good idea of what they'll talk about. But this is a good conference to attend. It's, even though you're doing it remotely, to learn more about building these elaborate web applications for in a little time as possible and with as little knowledge in back end coding as possible. I hope that is a good explanation. Uh, it's kind of hard to explain without using a platform that already exists like Netlify, but I'll go over it anyways. So I have my portfolio site is actually hosted on Netlify, and I use the Netlify Lambda functions that handle my backend stuff. So I have a contact form that you can send emails, you can send messages to me, and the Lambda function actually handles all that. It will take the message, send it to the email server or I'm sorry, the email service I have set up, and then it will handle all my contact details. I didn't have to build a backend server. All I had to do is I just had to build the Lambda function to handle all that, and it's great. But you're probably thinking, well, that's great and everything, but how hard is it to deploy? Simple, stupid simple. Netlify uses your Git repository as your source code. So what that means is you can have your production branch as your deployment branch. So any changes in that master branch that Netlify sees, it goes ahead and kicks off the build process. So it uses continuous deployment to deploy your sites. So if you need to make a small change to your site, it will just automatically, it will see that change in your master branch, and it will just automatically rebuild and redeploy the site. It's amazing. Highly, highly, highly suggest checking it out because it's amazing. And you could build apps relatively quickly with it. So I want to leave it off on that note. Check it out. I already harped on about how Columbus is kind of moving towards the cloud environment, and with their cloud environment and having this cloud development skills, it's just going to make you more valuable in front of employers. You're going to stick out like a sore thumb in a good way. So yeah. Okay, I've pretty much went through all my material on my agenda. So now, well, I'm almost done. I have a couple more items I wanted to talk about. Um, so, as you know, our Free Code Camp Columbus group, we meet on a bi-monthly basis. So we meet 2 times a month. It's always the first Sunday and then the third Thursday. The Sunday meetup is at Insight. So Insight is in the downtown Columbus. It's in the Arena District. Those are typically more focused on talks, given that the venue space that we have allows for it. The Thursday meetup is over at Improving Enterprises in Easton, and those are actually more pair programming, just because the environment is conducive for that, and it's just kind of a traditional thing that we do. We always have one meetup that's focused on talks, and we have another meetup that's focused more on pair programming, because there's a lot of meetups that have talks, and really what we found out is a lot of people don't they like that, but they also want to have a meetup where they can, it's very casual, informal, and if they haven't, if they're going through free code camp and they're running into an issue, they can leverage that resource, and it's like, let's talk. Okay, what project do you have, and what issues you're running into, and let's try to figure it out together. So we're kind of like the more the physical medium that free code camp can't really fulfill, because really its nature is an online community, right? So typically we would do that, but given the situation that we're in with COVID-19, really we're really restricted to having remote meetups or having live streams. But when we do start back up, just to give you our cadence schedule, it's typically every Sunday and every third Thursday, or first Sunday every third Thursday. Now, we are looking for speakers for our Sunday meetups. And you're more actually, if you're new, I highly suggest uh, gathering up that courage and doing a talk. It doesn't even have to be a full-fledged talk. It could be just like a project you've been working on, or just like a pet project, or you're learning something new and you want to talk about it so it can further your understanding, or you're just so excited to talk about it. We welcome all of that, because we know that the more time that you're up and talking in front of others, the more successful as a developer you're going to be, because um, you'll be able to convey your ideas. You'll learn how to convey your ideas to an audience. And that audience doesn't always have to be a crowd. It can always just be your coworker trying to explain an idea you have for a product. So if you're interested, just PM me or any of the admins. And as I mentioned before, you can PM myself, Sarah or Kevin Berlin, Kent Utterback. You can reach out to him, or Amy Bettinghouse, and just say, hey, I want to do a talk. So when can you get me in? And then just to kind of explain what your topic is, and then we'll put it in the event details. We'll put it in the event details when man, I'm losing my train of thought. We'll promote the your talk at our event. So again, don't hesitate to send a message out. Just let us know if you have a talk you want to do, and we have a pretty open schedule. I think a lot of folks kind of dropped off due to the stay-at-home order. So we definitely have a very open schedule. The next item I want to talk about is our new chat server. As you know, you're on Rocket Chat. So the reason why we decided to start our own server is because Slack Slack is great, but it is a commercial product, and it does cost money to get the full features. It's very limited on the free version. For instance, it only retains up to 20,000 messages. So it sucks as a record keeping app. So just in case, if you had a talk with somebody, you had a conversation in 6 months down the line, it's like, oh my God, I remember this, but I had a conversation with somebody about this, but I forget what it is. I want to go back and check up on that conversation. You can't really do that with Slack. On Rocket Chat, since we own the server, we could basically go as far back as we can. Those our hard drives will allow us. Let's see. Is there one in your opinion that is most popular? Um, I would say AWS because AWS they offer a lot of value. Azure is kind of the new player on the field. They haven't. I mean, they've been out, but they haven't really. They haven't really were a contender. So AWS. The reason why I think it's I think it's the best, or I think it's more popular, is because the fact that you could spin up an instance and pay pennies on the dollar to keep that instance up. So it allows for a lot of like experimentation and toy projects or personal projects that you want to put up. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money for. And you do have that free tier, the EC2 free tier, and you have that tier for like the entire month for free, as long as you stay within the usage. Excuse me. So Azure, they do offer a free tier, but it's really limited, especially for their products. Like if you want to host your own like web application, you want to use SQL Server. SQL Server is like very resource intensive, and if you try to put it on their, you can't put those on their free tier instances. It's like not even worth it. You might as well just spend the money. And you have to remember, Microsoft is all about enterprise, so you're going to spend a lot of money for Azure. Google, I don't know much about Google. All I know is Google's expensive. I guess you gotta the cost got to go somewhere, right? Get all this free stuff from Google, like Google Office Suite, and you get your own free email and all that. Well, then the cost has got to go somewhere, and that typically goes in cloud. So I don't think Google's all that popular, and yeah, like Firebase is great, but it's very limited. It's much like Microsoft, where your instances are limited. But you know what? Uh, I'm just saying things like this is just my opinion. You guys, you're more than welcome to call me out on it. Because I know there's folks out there that work with those three giants more than I do. So yeah, AWS. If you want to play around with cloud development, check out AWS. I mean, for crying out loud, Free Code Camp is offering free course on a certification. I mean, that's a hell of a deal. Excuse my French. So, the new chat server, it does offer a lot. You can do live streams on the server. Um, so we could technically set up our own live stream server, and we can have our own private do our own private live stream. So right now I'm actually live streaming off of YouTube, and I took the YouTube shared link and I embedded it into the chat service. So it's just like in Slack. I could put the embedded link in Slack, and you would have it, but you don't have your own special thread for it that you currently have right now if you're listening in. So the Rocket Chat actually allows for live streaming, and all we have to do is just set up the server, and we're good to go, essentially. Another cool thing about Rocket Chat, the reason why we went to it, is, of course, I think I already mentioned you can have as many messages as you like. I think it's part of a suite. I don't remember. But that was really the main reason why we got it. And just given the current privacy issues that are going on, I think this is better for our users, just because you know who we are, you practically know where we live, so you kind of got that one over us. And I feel as though people's privacies are better protected on here because we own the server, and we have really no intention to do anything with that data. Basically, uh, our mission is to help people get better. Have accessibility to the web. To education in the sense that you have access to seasoned devs that want to help you and access to all these resources. So yeah, I think I could have worded that better. I think I worded that this is more proprietary, and like Google where or Slack where we're using a third party so we can host our chats or provide a community for our members. So yeah, okay. Well, I got through the agenda. That was the last item I have on there. So I guess now it's just kind of open. So if you guys got any questions, I mean, you're more than welcome to ask. I can kind of keep going on talks. I know it's getting pretty late. We're getting pretty close to our designated end time, but of course I'm willing to stay on as long as people need help or have questions. I'm willing to stay along as long as I can. Um, ooh, well, that's weird. I was looking at my phone and I noticed that my charger is like my phone's telling me I got a weak charge. But then again, I got 100% battery, so I think that has something to do with it. Yeah. So if guys got any questions, just post it on here. I'm also looking at the Slack channel too. So if we miss out on anything, yeah. Oh, so I do want to mention, if you guys don't know already, we do have an open source website. So our website is open source, and everyone's welcome to contribute changes to the site. If you have ideas, you're more welcome to contribute to our site. We're pretty good. We have our GitHub account linked up to the Slack channel, or have a Slack channel dedicated to GitHub. So any PRs that are submitted, we are notified. So yeah, we do pay attention. It's a great way to you could put that on your resume. Also, we have a lot of ideas that are in the issues that we love to implement, but of course we're only human, and we do have lives outside of Free Code Camp Columbus, and we only can dedicate so much time. And we also wanted to give the opportunity to the newer folks that want to build up their resume a chance to contribute. So let me post the link. GitHub.com. Oh, here. Free Code Camp Columbus. GitHub. Here we go. Cool. So that is our organizational site, and the website project is FCC-Columbus. So yeah, definitely check that out if you're looking for stuff to do and you want to expand your resume out. Uh, you know, documentation is always great. Like I said, with the chapter open source project, you can always contribute documentation. Uh, yeah, it doesn't have to be this elaborate change that you're doing. It could be as simple as, oh, that button doesn't look good. Let me fix that for you. Like, I'm gonna adjust the design. Put a little pizzazz on it. Cause no offense, Dan, you kind of suck at styling. Gee, thanks, but I really appreciate that. Could have been nicer. It's like, yeah, but you could have done a better job on that button. Um, yep. Okay. I don't really have anything else to talk about. I think I talked about everything that I wanted to get across. But I hope this is really valuable to you guys. I hope a lot of these resources I talked about gets you excited. It definitely lays down a path for you. Um, and just, I really thank you guys for, I know you guys got busy lives. I know some of you or most of you have families. You know, you're extremely busy, and I am very, very grateful that you took some time out of your very busy day or very busy night to join the live stream. Oh, sweet! All right, Jonathan, your first one, your first step in your 3,000 hour journey. Well, it doesn't have to be 3,000 hours. You could, you know, you can definitely learn some. You could be dangerous in less than that. So, yeah, but yeah, thank you guys so much for joining and the live stream and joining our little group. And yeah, I hope you get something really valuable out of this. And the plan is if we still have this, and it definitely sounds like we're gonna have this stay-at-home order for a while, according to the governor. Actually, yeah, it's gonna be a long while. I think our watermark is going to be if our employers have us come back to the office. That will be our watermark to set up physical events. So, but we'll definitely let you know about that. We'll definitely make an announcement when we do go back to our like in-person events. We'll make sure of that. And Amy's pretty good about that. She kind of handles more of our event coordination. She's great. Um, and then Sarah is really good with the PR stuff. So, yeah. Yes, yeah, and I imagine we'll probably be doing. I'll probably be doing a lot more of that with the live streams. I think right now is obviously you guys don't want to listen to me talk for all the live streams, so they're coming with some ideas. Maybe doing like a Let's Code, where we pick a project and we start building it, and then you guys make suggestions while we code. It'd be like mob programming. Um, Also, maybe doing a talk. We have a lot of folks that are part of the group that are phenomenal. They give phenomenal talks. In fact, John Riley, he's one of our members. He did a live stream, a webinar about Docker about an hour before this live stream started. He put out an invite on the Slack channel. So he's a good guy. Been in the industry for a long time. A lot of user experience. Hopefully, we can collaborate and have him do a talk, live stream talk. Um, yeah, so absolutely, we'll come up with some ideas. More likely, it'll be like Let's Codes and talks on the live streams. That keep things interesting. And if you guys have any suggestions, don't hesitate to, PM us and say, hey, I had this one idea. I was on Twitch and this one developer. He was doing this like live stream. It was really cool. I think we should try that. It would be really neat. Or if you got any ideas, just let us know, and we'll do a live stream. And then hopefully next time we can get more of that, like just more people on the live stream. Because, like I said, I know you guys don't want to spend 2 hours listening to me talk by myself. It's like, yeah, Dan's a little bit of a narcissist. I try not to be. Yeah, my throat's dry. My throat dries out really easily. Yeah, and I like to get. What I really like to do is I like to get Kevin on here because Kevin Berlin, he's one of the admins. Oh, okay, could be interesting to take a project to almost finish from FCC and hop in Discord and work on it with others or expand on a finished project for others. Yeah, that's an idea too. Like, he, because we are a free code camp study group, it makes sense to do the projects from the curriculum, like do a live stream or get a group project together around it. That's an idea. Basically, just take a project to finish, and you can all kind of like do mob programming on it. So yeah, we could. That's an idea. I'll definitely. I'll put that down on some content ideas. And yeah, I've been wanting to do that, especially the HTML and CSS, because I know a lot of people are really interested in that. It's kind of a funny story. Um, when we were trying to come up with some ideas for talks or like little activities, uh, yeah, um, I was on there. I was like, my focus was okay. How can we help people learn how to code and get jobs in the shortest amount of time possible? And Sarah was like, well, that's great, Dan, but let's focus on the HTML and CSS because that seems to be what people are really interested in. I was like, no, I'm a very stubborn person. Like, no, we're going to teach them the most advanced stuff because Columbus is amazing and we're smart and they're smart and we're going to get them up to speed and we're gonna be a powerhouse. Well, Sarah's right. We put up like we did talks on like JavaScript, but the thing is, there's more newer people, like brand new people to code. That JavaScript is just like, oh no, I ain't gonna touch that. That stuff's like calculus 3. I ain't gonna touch that. So when we started doing like a lot of HTML and CSS talks, our attendance was tremendously. There was a lot more attendance for that compared to say um, doing things on like JavaScript concepts, like promises and object-oriented programming. Folks are, just HTML, CSS, just easier to get into. And the thing about HTML, CSS, you see the changes immediately. Like if you put a blue, like if you put your CSS selector, and I know you're not supposed to call them selectors, the technical term. Well, actually, I think it is. I may be thinking of HTML selectors. But anyways, when you put a blue background on a body tag, you see that immediately once you do the refresh. JavaScript, on the other hand, you don't necessarily see that immediately, and seeing abstract objects popping up on your screen it doesn't have the same effect as you know uh, designing a button, right? So like I said, we saw higher attendance for HTML, CSS, and I think that'd be a perfect place to start. And it would be uh, it would be really interesting to do. And that's if that would have to be our first walkthrough, that would probably be a HTML, CSS walkthrough. Whew, man, my throat is really dry. Whew. If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna run and get some water real quick. I hate to abandon you guys for 5 minutes. Oh, well, it won't be 5 minutes. It'll be like a minute. So, be right back. You actually can probably still see me. Just grab the water. All right. See? Not that long. Got some Gatorade. Oh, got okay. Got some water. Ah, much better. All right. How are we doing on time? We're over, but I'm willing to stay on a little bit longer. If you guys, I'm willing to stay on longer if you guys got questions or you want to talk about a certain topic, or if you're working through a problem on your project. So, oh, so off-topic stuff. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some stuff to talk about that's interesting. Um, uh, well, this is awkward. I can't think of anything to say right now. Um, oh, so recently I got a new phone. I previously had a Samsung Note. What was it? The Samsung Note 7? Wow, I can't believe I can't remember what Note I got. No, the Note 5. I had the Samsung Note 5 for like 5 years. I think it was that long. And I recently just got a new phone. I got the Samsung Note 10. And oh my god, this thing's amazing. I know this is, by now this is old technology, but there's some really cool stuff you could do with this. The AR technology is pretty neat. You can like draw squiggly lines on your face, and the squiggly lines will actually follow your face. I thought that was really cool. I don't like. I thought I would like the Benzel curve display, but believe it or not, it if you got fat fingers like me or like really big hands, and you try to if you try to like watch YouTube or like if you play Angry Birds, the problem is the screen is so wide. If you shoot your bird, your the little pad of your finger can actually activate special ability on the bezel curve. And I was like, crap, I don't want that to happen. It's like this makes it really hard to play this. But and sometimes the like if you're watching a video on your browser, the screen gets really distorted with the screen, and I still notice that with the YouTube app. The YouTube app kind of does the same thing, where if you it distorts the image a little bit. So I don't know how I feel about the bezel curve of the display. It's nice because you get more screen real estate, but at the same time, your hands kind of it gets in the way of your hands, or your hands get in the way of the interaction. But overall, it's like a nice phone, really nice. Um, what I really wanted, I wanted the new razors. The razors were, oh my god, I don't care what you say. Flip phones are great because a flip phone you can actually make it smaller. Oh, sorry guys. Oh man, I didn't want to blow your eardrums. That went down the wrong windpipe. Okay, Joey's got a question. Do you have any recommended backend tech languages for someone who has at least a basic grasp of JS? I use a functional language, Elixir, but found it a lot harder to understand and pick up concepts than JS. Um, hold up. Sorry about that, Joey. Well, you're in luck. There is a backend. There's a backend server, or I'm saying a backend language or language you could use that is entirely like built out of JavaScript, which is Node.js. Oh man, Man, I really want to stick around. Dang. Sorry, guys. Um, like I was saying, the cool thing about Node is you can build your backend service with JS or JavaScript. And a lot of the concepts you learn while building front end JavaScript code, you can easily transfer over to Node.js. The only concept you have to kind of understand is that Node.js is event driven. So what that means is uh, basically every time it's run by events. So that means that you have to have you have to invoke an event, and that event there's listeners to that event, and you have to set up the listeners for it. So that's the beautiful thing about Node.js. Because of its asynchronous nature, essentially, you and I, if a good example would be if you and I were on the same website at a Node.js backend, and I make a request to do something, well, that doesn't block you from making a request to do something else. We can basically in a way we can operate on different threads, even though it's single threaded. A lot of synchronous web servers like ASP.NET, it blocks. So if I make a request, the server has to complete the request before it can answer to your request, which that could lead to like high performance if you're dealing with input output. But the drawback is it's a hard concept to understand because you have to understand asynchronous actions or asynchronous code. Oh yeah, a lot of good resources. So you have Node School, so I'll get the link for you. They have a lot of free exercises you could do. man, my cough does not want to leave. Mm. There's a lot of exercises evolving around Node. Uh, Node School has these things called what is it? The national or Node Day or Node.js Day. Basically, every month there are sponsored workshops. There's one in Columbus that basically focuses on Node. It's called Pair Columbus, and they do that. I think like every 2 months or something like that. That's a really good resource. Free Code Camp is another great resource. They have a great Node curriculum that teach you how to build Node backend Node HTTP servers and how to like everything from creating an endpoint, uh, dealing with database management, hardening your servers, all that good stuff. I would definitely check that out. Um, in fact, I can point you to the section on Free Code Camp that you can start learning about Node. That's the thing about Free Code Camp. It's not a linear path. It's actually like you learn the stuff that you need to learn. So you're not restricted to a certain curriculum. Like you have to do this curriculum before you learn this. It's highly suggested you do prereqs first, but you're not restricted to just like you have to set a certain path. If that makes sense. Oh man. Here we go. And this actually starts the back end path. Yeah, if you need some good resources, I would start there and start at Node School first, and then play around with their exercises. And then you can also check out Free Code Camp as well. All right. Ooh. Man, that cough does not want to. It when that water went down the wrong windpipe, it said, "I am not leaving." I swear, I don't smoke. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I think if I mean, I have rewritten projects before. I was working on one project. It's basically an airsoft event site, and I've maybe restarted that project so many times. Like I would build stuff out, and I was like, nah, I'll just toss it out, restart, and then I would build the project up. I'm like, nah, and I'll toss the project aside, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, Elixir is hard. I've if you at least have some shred of understanding of Elixir, being a beginner, if you are a beginner, I commend you because functional programming can be very difficult if you don't have a solid understanding of if you don't have a solid programming understanding of programming. Because functional programming is it's exactly as it sounds. Functional programming just deals in functions. You have no objects or state whatsoever. It's you use whatever those functions return, and that just introduces a whole new paradigm. It's a wonderful like, performant paradigm, but a very difficult one I find. Yeah, yeah. You probably had a hard time with the pattern matching, right? And in maps and tuples. Because I had a really hard time with tuples. So what you're saying is tuples are are like objects, but they're not objects. Yeah, exactly like that. I remember my buddy explaining that to me. I was like, oh, okay. It's like, what do you say, Matt? Dan, Elixir's amazing. I know, it's amazing, but tuples, they're just a very strange concept to me. Yeah, it was. But functional programming is really amazing, though. It is very performant. You know, fun fact: Discord is actually built out of Elixir. That's why Discord is so amazing and so blazingly fast because the backend is basically built out of Elixir. But Elixir came out of Erlang, and Erlang was it was originally conceived to better handle telecommunications. Yeah, yeah, that's why it's so fast because it uses a Elixir. It uses a backend. It uses a backend language that is pure functional programming. Here's another fun fact. Which, well, okay, it's more common knowledge if you worked with Elixir long enough. Uh, it The Elixir runs off the JVM. So it uses npm for managing packages, and then uses a JVM to host to run the source code. So yeah, there's your trivia today. mm. Whew. What are some other cool and interesting things to talk about? It's kind of hard to do since being kind of with this all lockdown thing, been stuck at the house. It's really the only thing I can really talk about is code and just stuff. I notice a lot of people now with being stuck at home, they're a little bit more introspective. So they typically, you know, they ruminate on ideas and talk about philosophy and all that. So I'm not that type of guy. I try not to be, because philosophy is great and everything, but it's abstract. And you know you could go on, you could talk to other people about that. So besides, it's not really related to programming. So yeah. Well, guys, I think I'm gonna end the stream here. It's getting pretty late. We're definitely way over, uh, and I'm getting pretty tired. But I really, really, I appreciate you guys taking the time. I definitely took a good portion out of your day, and I really appreciate you sharing your time with me on this live stream. And I really hope you did get something valuable out of this. And um, I like to keep on doing this. I think it's a good thing. And yeah, yeah. Again, thank you so much. And I haven't had a set date for the next live stream. My if I had to take if I had to take a guesstimation, I like to get another live stream maybe the second week of May. So that'll give me plenty of time to come up with some content and yeah, give me enough time to create content. You never know. Maybe somebody else. And here's the thing about our group. We may have administrators, but we're not like it's not like everything comes from us with regards of what we do. It's like, okay, you could do this, you could do that. No, it's not like that. We're just facilitators. We just we provide ideas to the group, and we just facilitate a lot of the activities that we do. Because after all, we're a study group. We're not like a club. We're just like-minded people that like to learn how to code, and we want to teach it to others. So you don't have to be an administrator. You don't have to be a coordinator of the group to host a live stream branded with Free Camp Columbus. Uh, you're more than welcome to say, hey, I want to do a live stream, but I want to be like, I want to do a talk, but I want to be like Free Camp Columbus related stuff. More welcome to do so. Just send me a PM on Slack or on here, and we could set something up. So, and that's another thing. Um, the goal of Free Camp Columbus being a study group, we wanted people to like take their own initiative, say, hey, I want to do a pair programming session. Who wants to join me? Or let's do a coffee and code, like completely separate to like stuff that we would typically schedule. Because if people are doing that in our group, we did our job, man. We really did our job. That means people have the initiative and self starters learn on their own, and that means there's more people in Columbus like that. So yeah, that's the goal. All right, I am now leaving. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the stream. But again, thank you so much. Uh, have a great night. Um, stay safe, stay healthy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And if you do, wear a gas mask and a hazmat suit. I'm kidding. Don't do that. But yeah, just be sensible. And I will see you on the flip side. All right, guys. Have a great night.